Welcome in to Red River North. That's Randy Heights. I'm Dave Myrick, both the 1077 The Franchise flagship station, the only flagship station for Oklahoma football, often imitated, never duplicated. Randy, how we doing tonight, man?
Doing good, man. Enjoying it. It's beautiful out tonight. It's crazy.
It's ball sweat hot is what it is outside. Only you would say this is beautiful.
It's not right now. It's beautiful. The wind's blowing. It's beautiful. It's very nice. I'm kind of shocked to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I'm. It's changed.
97 with 80% humidity. I will pass on that one. You're not human. Look, man, I was going to jump into media days, but to be honest, I'm tired of media days. It's been regurgitated. We'll get to it in a little bit, but I kind of wanted to jump into some Oklahoma positional spots I thought was interesting. I saw a couple of two deeps by a couple different dudes online. A lot of talk about the offensive line, Randy. If any freshmen are going to play this year, we kind of saw some depth issues in that area, from last year. People are wanting Jacob Sexton, back at senior to get back on that offensive line. I thought Logan Howland, Heath Ozeda kind of had a strong chemistry towards the end of the season. What are your thoughts on the line?
You know, in some ways, it's some of the same problems, right, as last year. A lot of the same guys returning.
Right.
But I will say this: when you started to see that offensive line gel a couple of times, and that was when you talk about Howland and Azeta, they played really well down the stretch. And if we all remember, it was the Ole Miss game, right, when Jacob Sexton got hurt.
Right.
That's when he was starting to really come into his own, and Oklahoma was just dominating the line of scrimmage. Jacob Sexton gets hurt, things change. So I don't know if I really have a problem with either one. All I want to say is I think this year, and I think we'll see it this year. I really do, and I don't know why I feel this way. If there needs to be a youth movement, for the youth movement to happen,
You think
the
so?
coaches, I do, and I think we saw it some last year, and I think part of the reason why is a lot of coaches, they coach different when they've got time on their side than when they don't. And we all know this. Even Bill Bedenbaugh, as great as offensive line coach as he's been, if this guy, if Bert Venables is let go this year,
Yep.
then it's an entire house cleaning,
Yep.
And so I think that changes a lot of things for the upcoming season with what we saw out of coaches last year and decisions they made to what they're doing now. That's kind of where it's at now. Do they make the quicker change? Do we see things that we all wanted to watch and see last year? Like, hey, get EPL in there. Remember when he was a freshman? We all thought that, and you never saw him till the end of the season.
And he
And
was
so now
great,
it's kind of
by the way.
exactly. And so now I think it's one of those years. Hey, if it needs to be EPL, if it needs to be Foje, if it needs to be Pazuzi, those guys need to be in there. But I have no problem with starting the year if they earn the job in practice. The Ozeda, the Howlands, and the Sextons, if they earn it, for the way they were playing at the end of the year.
Yeah, I've got issues with this because look, I'm on record for saying I thought nobody from the offensive staff deserved to come back this year. That's how piss poor the OU offense was a season ago. Bill Bedenbaugh's been great. I don't care. That was like John Blake, dark years of OU football bad, embarrassing for the program. I didn't like any aspect of the O-line rotation last year. I'm not a big fan of seeing the same guys pump back up there. You mentioned, Ryan Foje, Michael Fasusi. These are guys being called generational. Fasusi in particular. I would rather see these guys play. And the problem is, Bill B has always needed like 3 to 4 games to kind of figure out that group. He doesn't have that time, Randy. This thing jumps off the deep end fast now in the SEC. That was part of what bit him in the ass a season ago. So I'm all for the youth movement, man. These guys have higher upsides. We've kind of seen what these older guys can't do when they played last year. I mean, yeah, you say they earned it in practice, but they should have theoretically last year, and the group just did not look prepared to play.
And I will say this: I think some of that. I don't know if they earned it last year, and I think that's the difference. I think
Could be.
that was beating both old school. Hey, the veterans play; they get the
Right.
time, and that's what I'm saying. I think if in the camp rolls around, because I know Fasuzi's generational talent, Boja's supposed to be really good. I mean, Mr. Wiener Mouse, do I feel that, wants to know that we feel the offensive line is deeper this year? 100%.
Yes.
I think without a doubt it's deeper with the youth movement, with health alone. I really like what I saw at Ozeta last year. I think he's a guy that deserves the chance to get in there and play. I think Howland, he's kind of, even though he was good last year, I feel better about Ozeta being in there than Howland.
Same.
And I really do. I feel good about Sexton being in there. The way he got to finally play the tackle position last year. I mean, I think that's the other thing. We have to remember when we're grading the offensive line last year, it is a little different. There were so many injuries. There were guys. Sexton didn't play tackle until basically the Mississippi game, and that's when he looked the best. It's like they were moving guys all around. So that's why I'm like, A, I think the depth this year helps. B, yeah, the youth's going to help. I mean, even though ETL was good last year, he was not for Susie. He's probably not Foji, and you look at him and you look at those two, that's only going to make this unit better where they can get in there and truly find the core. I think to a point last year at the start of the season, I don't know if they felt good about the offensive line they had. They just thought, this is the best we have right now till we get the youth developed. And I think that's at least the difference this year.
Yeah, and I think it's a little unfair to grade these guys individually, come to think of it, because an offensive line gets better when it's cohesive, working together as a five-man unit. We just didn't see that last year. When they finally did start to click towards the end, the running back that was behind them, the only running back worth any type of shit for Oklahoma last year, Xavier Robinson, against really good teams that did not respect Oklahoma's passing game at all. That means 8, 9-man boxes. He was still able to have really good games, is third on this depth chart. The lack of respect for my man Xavier Robinson is driving me nuts. Just want to shout out to Matt. What's up, Oklahoma football? Never heard of her. Texas fan, obviously. And Josh Manning took us long enough. Blame Cord. It's his fault. But Randy, Xavier Robinson, man, to me is an every down running back in the SEC. I know Jaden Knott's really good. I understand that. I know Javonte has been around for 20 years, but man, X he's it, man. He's the running back.
He's not the guy. He's going to be third most carries on this team if he's lucky, in my opinion. And I like Robinson. I do. I like Robinson a lot. Jay Knott, without a doubt, I think he's 75 to 80% of the touches out of the backfield this year. I mean, he is that big time of a guy. When OU has not had a guy like Jay Knott, God, I mean, it may have been
Mixon,
Joe Mixon years, Mixon years, Rodney Anderson, actually as well. He's that home run threat. And as good as Robinson is, he's not the big time home run threat, as far as getting the ball in 80 yards.
We brought up Mixon. What worked really well that year? Mixon and P. Ryan, where you don't beat up one back the entire season. I can see a lot of carries for these guys.
I think Taylor Tatum may end up passing Robinson this year. Yeah, I really do. I mean, he's the guy I've been preaching on 2 years solid. His only problem last year, and it was a problem, don't get me wrong, was fumbling.
He wasn't alone in that.
Right. And he figures that problem out. And there's a reason X didn't see the field, forever. We heard it that in practice, he could not hold on to the ball. Gets into the game, and he did. If Taylor Tatum gets that problem fixed, I mean, again, there's a reason he was the number one running back in the country when he came out. He is, I think, the number 2 guy behind Jaden Knott because he offers a little of that power with the same type of home run threat capability. And then I think you got Robinson that'll be more of that goal line short yardage guy. Unfortunately, I think Barnes is the one left out in the cold.
Robinson's going to be the 2. Mark it down, everybody. Randy has Tatum. I have a Robinson. We'll see what comes to fruition. Actually, dude, I think they're going to split this up because I look, if I'm a coach nowadays, I'd rather see a running back room by committee as opposed to one guy just getting his head beat in every single game. So I think we're going to see multiple touches for these guys. Why not? They're all experienced. They're all really good. I'm not going to say it about the running back room. I'm going to leave that one be. I'm going to go to the spot that the only
spot on the running back room. I'm going to agree with you to a degree. I think it will be by committee until it gets down to that time in the fourth quarter, and then that's Jay Knott time.
Closer,
if it's a crucial drive, even in the first half, and they feel like, hey, we need this drive, I think that's when it's on. But I think you're probably right. We will see a little more balance in what I was saying, but I do think the crunch times are going to be odd times.
Well, we'll stick with that for a second because I think it's going to be kind of a different variation. Arbuckle, going back watching his stuff at Wazoo, he gets those guys incorporated in the passing game. He'll split a running back out to split end. and have two in the backfield at the same time. So I see a lot of touches for these guys, at least being on the field together. But I wasn't going to say anything about the running backs. I don't want to jinx it like the group last year, and that's the one spot on the Oklahoma offense I'm concerned with is wide receivers. Now, a lot of it is just because we haven't seen it, obviously, but the names, I mean, the guys you're relying on to come in and be difference makers like Jaden Gibson, you don't know where he's at healthy, where he's going to be at kickoff. Giovanni Gibson, same thing. I mean, Burks is good, we think. We got to see flashes of it last year, but that's a lot of inexperience. And behind that, there's not a lot to point to for guys that can consistently get separation against SEC defensive backs. A lot of Texas fans in here, they got one of the best secondaries in the country. They're going to need more than that in the Cotton Bowl and this season at wide receiver.
No doubt. I mean, but I'm really being honest, and it's kind of funny. I saw Matt Hayes today was on our friends SEC's podcast, with, cousin Shane and all that. Picked Oklahoma to win the SEC. I think there's a reason why the national media and Matt Hayes is a respected guy.
Yeah, I get it.
I think it's easy, and I've said this because I've been in the business for so long. It's so easy for, I think, local people when you cover a team, whether it's Texas media covering Texas, or whatever. When you're around that all the time, you think you have the better insight, right? And part of that's true. But part of it is also you're extra critical of everything, and all of a sudden you sit there and you're like, you nitpick every little problem. I don't know if the receiving core is as bad. I'm not going to say bad, has as big issues as we think. I mean, we'll see. Yes, it's a lot of newcomers, but you got some guys like I think Stinga, however you say his name, the kid from Arkansas. I think he could be a very crucial part to this team, kind of filling that role that Brennan Thompson did last year, even at a higher level than what Brennan Thompson was. Because, hey, it's kind of like the Bauer Shop thing. Knock on wood, with health and everything else, he's not going to have to be the number one or two guy like Brennan Thompson and Bauer Sharp were last year. I think that's the thing. You can look at this receiving core. Is there the guy coming into the year like you thought with a Nick Anderson and a Jaden Gibson last year that, hey, those are your 1 and 2? I don't know if you've got the 1 and 2, but it's kind of like how I would design a baseball team if I can't afford in the major league level an ace, but by God, I can afford 3 number 2s.
Right.
I will take that rotation. And I kind of feel like that's where OU is right now at the receiving core. They've got a whole group of number 2 and number 3s. They may not have a number 1. If Jaden Gibson can come back and be healthy, he might be a number 1. They may not have a number 1, but they've got a lot of number 2 and 3s. And that can be better sometimes than if you have a 1 and a 2 and then a huge drop off from that point.
Yeah, and I agree with that perspective. Those of us that cover and talk about OU, we're in this bubble and we're very microscopic on it. You get outside of that and talk to national people, it's kind of an eye-opener. The problem I have with that, you and I were down at SEC Media Days last year in Dallas, and a lot of people nationally were high on Oklahoma. Did not work out. We've dissected why. I mean, you take a chance on a 5-star quarterback that does not work out. Oftentimes, that's what it's going to look like. But he was far from the problem last year, Randy. That offensive line that we just talked about, the wide receivers can be what they are. If Oklahoma can't run the football effectively in this league, it's not going to matter. Dave, remember when you said Texas would go 8-4? Was it last year I said that? Probably. Yeah, I guess I do.
They got a couple of breaks.
Yeah, they did. But, Randy, the offensive line to me is everything, man. And that's why I can look at it and be a little concerned. There's a lot of the same dudes, but, man, he doesn't have a lot of time to fix it either. Like I say, it jumped straight to Michigan week 2.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think you're right, and I hate to put it all on one guy, I still go back to the quarterback play. A quarterback that's unsure of his decision-making, not getting rid of the ball, not making quick reads, that can make a line that's even young and struggling to get together look that much worse. And so I think what we're talking about, the offensive line of Oklahoma, we're not going to know truly, I don't think, how bad some of the guys were, if they were that bad last year, or if some of that was just Arnold running into the wrong spots on a scramble or, not making the quick decision. I mean, you've seen it before when you got a veteran quarterback and he knows, hey, my line's growing up. They're learning things. I need to make the quick read, quick decision. Some of that I think had to do with the fact, not so much offensive line, the receiving core was hurt. So it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if I trust those guys. That's where it's going to be interesting to watch what Materi's been able to do this whole offseason and summer with this receiving core. Does he truly have that comfort level where, hey, he can take a two-step drop and throw it to the into the flat because he knows Burks is going to be there. Gibson and Gibson both being hurt all summer long. How much does that hurt his confidence in some of those guys, and stuff? So it's going to be very interesting to watch this staff. But I do think it's easy to blame the offensive line, just like it's easy to blame the quarterback. But the quarterback is what stirs the pot on everything and making every one of the groups on the offense look better than maybe they are.
No doubt. We'll get caught up on some of these comments here. Yeah, when you got a good quarterback that gets the ball out on time and in rhythm, and the offensive line doesn't hold up block or have to hold up blocks for 15 seconds, that makes life easier. So does a running game, and that will fall squarely on the shoulders of this O-line. Richard McCleary. Randy and Dave, thank you for being on a live stream here for us in front of all Texas fans. Hats off, gents. Richard, thank you for joining us tonight. Dave, serious question. How's the skill position this year? We'll get to that just 1 second. Dave and Randy, Michigan is kind of an unknown in a sense for next year. The defense should be good, but how do you think that game will play out? Randy, I'll tell you what I think of it. That is the most must-win game on the Oklahoma schedule in 25, in my opinion. As much as I think there was a poll put out, Brent Venables is the hottest seat in college football. A lot of pressure on that staff. Fan base, players alike are kind of like, well, we're getting into it. Let's see what happens. They've done everything they can to help Brent out. They've gotten a lot of good players. That's the first big test under the lights in Owen Field for 25. And it's a national champion year before last with the Michigan Wolverines. We talked with one of their beat guys, Clayton Safey from On3, and the defense should be good. Their offense is going to be pretty good too. Everybody is kind of discounting that freshman quarterback, the highest ranked guy in the country. So that's going to be a slugfest, Randy. I kind of think both offenses will still be trying to kind of find their way, and both defenses should be kind of ahead of where the offenses are. I can see that being a low-scoring kind of slug, nasty game that comes down to the fourth quarter. I like Oklahoma to win because they're playing in Norman. That's about it.
No, I mean, I've said all summer long, and like right after the season ended, people were like, "Oh God, they start next year with Michigan." I'm not worried about Michigan. I think Michigan lost a lot last year. When you look at the draft, their defense will be solid. I don't think their defense is as good as Oklahoma's going into next year. You look at it; they lost a lot in that draft, and they're going to replace it with good players. And as much as we criticize Venables as head coach, I don't think they've got Newt Rodney on the sidelines over there. I think they got a guy that going into next year is going to be on just as much the hot seat as Brent Venables was this year. I mean, I've said from the start, I think Oklahoma starts 5-0, and that's why I've said when everyone goes, how many games does Brent have to win this year? I don't think you can judge it on game totals at the end of the year, because if they go 5-0 like I think they will, they can't win 7 games and he keep his job.
Sure.
And so that's why I'm like, I feel really good about the Michigan game. I mean, they've got an offense that's run like by a bunch of morons, I think, when you look at it. I mean, they make Seth Littrell almost look like a good offensive coordinator. And,
they did get a new OC that came in this year, so we'll see what he's got.
They had to, just like Oklahoma. I mean, you can't continue to run that. And I know it paid off them winning a national title, but that was with elite talent and not replacing it, going into the year. And I think that's why I like the fact where Oklahoma's got them. I will say this: if this game was in Ann Arbor, I'd probably be flipping the script. It's in Norman, and that's why and Josh E. Manning over here even says y'all kick the shit out of Michigan. I kind of fully agree. I don't expect Oklahoma to be in a game this year until Auburn. And I only think that'll be a game because I think the team is going to come out. We can say, they handled themselves, both sides, very well at media days. As far as Arnold and the OU staff and everyone handled themselves great. I'm sure that team's going to come out and play each side with a little chip on their shoulder.
You bet.
And that's why I still think they're 5-0, because why? That game, it's in Norman. Advantage Oklahoma. And then after that, you roll into the game in Dallas, and I just don't know. I mean, if the offense is playing well, I think Oklahoma's got a puncher's chance because if things go just the way they did it last year in the game in Dallas, Dave, if you have a decent offense, that's a ball game going into the second half.
Texas was only up 10-3, I think, at the half before it really got
Or was
away
it
from Oklahoma.
17? Did they give up 2 touchdowns late? Remember?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah, it was.
It didn't matter. It could have been 7-0, and Texas would have won. As bad as Oklahoma's offense was, Oklahoma's offense will be better. I can guarantee you that. The defense, I think, takes another step towards elite just because of the depth they have stacked on that defensive front. That unit is going to be nasty. It's going to be one of the best in the SEC. My problem from Oklahoma at home stems from the fact they haven't given fans a lot of confidence. They haven't given the media a lot of confidence that they can win big games at home. Last year, host Tennessee, the first ever SEC game, and lost it. But look, we've beaten this drum for 2 years. When you don't have an offense, that makes it tough to win. So that should be better this year. I wanted to go back and answer a question here from Mr. Random. Do you think OU has 3 to 4 500-yard wide receivers this year? Oof.
You know what? Dave, I'll answer that quick.
Yeah.
I think yes. I think they do for the point what I was saying earlier. I don't think they have a number one. I think they're going to have, let's say Burks is the closest to one, so he may end up getting closer to the 1,000.
Burks, Satania.
Yeah.
And who's the third?
Gibson, Giovanni Gibson, I think.
How about
I think he's one.
Carter?
Who? I'm sorry, my earpiece got out. Who?
Jermichael Carter.
Jermichael Carter. I think Thomas, the true freshman out of Chakotah, is another guy.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, he could be number one. You know what I'm saying? He's got that kind of skill set. I also think Carrion, who had it flashed in the bowl game.
Yes, thank you.
And that's kind of where I'm saying, like, I think he may be right on the amount of 400 or 500 guys. You may have Burks that goes out there and is the leader and gets you 800 to 1,000 yard season, but you might see any of those guys step up and be week to week. Oh, he got 100, but the next week he got 10 yards. Oh, he got 100. So I could see
your
4
dog
or 5 guys.
What you're saying, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, I agree with that. Richard McCleary, are there any games on OU's schedule that you are worried about? Oh, yeah, hell yeah. Not a trap game, but maybe a Bama that may be looking for revenge from last year. I'll answer that, Richard. Yes. Pretty much all of them. Look, man, this Oklahoma season is fascinating to me. It's one I've not seen in my lifetime due to the fact Oklahoma the last 20 years has been one of, if not the most consistent football programs in college football. They just have. They've been top 10, top 15, competing for national championships, conference championships, but they're right there on that problematic doorstep of 4 coaches in 8 years. If this doesn't go well, and kind of being where Oklahoma fans dog Texas for being for 10 years. They're right there. However, it's that quick. They can also turn it around with, good quarterback play and make it a good hire at OC, which everybody thinks they did with Ben Arbuckle. So I got to say all of them. I think Auburn, Randy's right. They're going to come in, and Hugh Freeze is another guy in the SEC that his ass is on fire. He needs to win and win now. And I think that team is going to try to win for Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold will be motivated to come win in Norman. So, yeah, I think that one is as important as any on the schedule. Texas, look, Brent is 1-2 against Texas, 34-3 and 49-0. That's not good as head coach. So that one every year is important. But, yeah, at Alabama, at South Carolina, LSU at home, and probably Ole Miss at home. I would say right now are 50-50 toss-ups. The LSU and Ole Miss games at home are 50-50. At South Carolina and at Alabama, I don't like Oklahoma's chances. It's hard to go on the road and win.
Yeah, no, I think, and to be honest, I look at the one and you mentioned it, South Carolina. It's not a trap game, but I almost look at South Carolina because I'm kind of chalking up a loss in Tuscaloosa. It's a revenge game. I mean, they got humiliated last year in Norman, right? So I think they're going to come out and play with an edge, even though I think they got a moron as a head coach. So I don't know if that's going to matter much at all.
Hang on. Shane Beamer?
No, Alabama. I'm saying that revenge game.
Oh man, okay, yeah, we're back on track here.
The revenge game. That's why I think South Carolina is kind of that, not a trap game, but if Oklahoma wants to get to that next level, wants to be that playoff game, playoff team this year, I almost feel like South Carolina is that coin flip game to be in. That team just being discussed about for the playoffs for Oklahoma. If they don't win that game, like they'll be in the conversation at the end of the year.
Sure.
To if they win it, they're probably going to the playoffs. That's where I feel like that South Carolina game is. And I'm not sure because Richard, you're right. South Carolina is looking very dangerous. I love Sellers as a quarterback. They've got a lot of weapons on defense, and they've got offensive weapons as well outside of Sellers. I mean, I feel like for Beamer, this is his first year of having a complete team at South Carolina.
No, I agree, man. I was talking with Tyler the other day, and we're both very high on SC, and I love Shane Beamer as head coach. I wanted to go back and answer one question from my man, Josh Manning. How's the skill position this year? I assume you mean the skill positions. Randy and I kind of talked about wide receiver. It's not so much that there's concern. It's just unknown. We haven't seen these guys. A lot of transfers. A couple guys that are back that were hurt last year, back in the rotation. They're very deep. Just we haven't seen a lot of it. Running back room, I'm still not going to say it. It ought to be very damn good. One of the best in the SEC.
Yeah, we're not going to say the other words. It's going to be good.
Not going
it's
there.
Good.
Josh, the running backs Oklahoma are legit. I mean, Jaden Ott, Taylor Tatum, number one running back in the country out of high school year before last. Xavier Robinson, very good. And Javante Barnes. And I don't want to sell the freshman short either. What's his name? Matlock or Blaylock? Yeah. Troy Blaylock. That guy can fly. I think he'll get some touches somewhere. So that's a dangerous group. Tight ends, I don't kind of like wide receiver. We don't know. Just haven't seen it yet.
It is interesting because I do think a lot of us have discounted the kid because he's been injured his whole career. And I thought it was interesting what Brent said last week at Media Days about Caden Helms.
Yep.
I've been waiting to see this kid, and it's like every year you're like, dude, this kid's a stud. Because if you go back and watch his high school tape, you're like, okay, that is and I'm not going to say he's this level of guy, but that is the Trent Smith type tight end Oklahoma's always had, a lanky receiving tight end that can.
You've been on this dude for years, I know.
Yeah, and it's just like he's had problems getting healthy. So if he can stay healthy, that makes that room better next year alone. Even though I'm not going to be as hard on Bauer Sharp as everyone else, he was put in a situation that was not fair to him. He had to be the number one receiver when that's not what he's brought in for. But I'll still say, because of everything else, that'll make that room better if Caden Helms is healthy. And then I think Jared's the wild card. What does he actually do on the offensive side? We all know he's a freak athlete. Can he take that athleticism and capitalize on the offensive side of the ball? Something he really was never able to do on the defensive side.
Yeah, Randy's referencing Jaren Kanak, a top 200 recruit out of high school who moved from running back to linebacker at OU, did not work. Now he's playing kind of that fullback tight end role. The guy is a freak. He's very good with the football in his hands. Again, a top 200 running back. That's another one in the fold. I think Ben Arbuckle will find ways to get the ball in his hands. But Randy, we talk a lot about the offense, jumping to the defense. There are a couple guys, in my opinion, if Oklahoma is going to be as good as we think they are, on defense, a couple guys need to take the next step. That would be PJ Adebawore, defensive end, a former 5-star that looks like an NFL All-Pro when he walks in the room, and that's, again, another 5-star. David Stone is the other one that on that defensive line at nose guard. I mean, those two guys alone, that's a lot of talent, a lot of size, a lot of speed, athleticism. If they can kind of get up to the elite level with the rest of this defense, look out. They got bodies all over the place.
And the other one is Danny Okoye. We've heard people talk about him all last year, how freak athletic he is. I mean, I will say this, Brent is one not to put pressure on players. When he said last week he could be the best player on the defense, that's when you're like, that kid must be ready to make a move. And so I think the two you mentioned with Okoye, that is something that can put this defense right now. I've said all offseason long, I think you put, let's say, Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia defensively in a hat and go, hey, somebody figure out who the best defense is in the league, because I think it's one of those three right there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Josh, Dave roasting me for my use of position instead of positions. Brother, I'm taking care of a 4-week-old.
Oh,
Yikes.
Joshy.
Well, Josh, well done. You're getting them started early on Randy and I. That hats off to you. You couldn't pick anything else better to watch. So congrats. Randy, yes, I agree with that on the defensive side. The position I'm most interested in to see what happens here, Cheetah, because that's that old Roy Williams hybrid linebacker safety guy that Oklahoma has struggled for so long to find that one guy that can come up and run support or drop back and pass coverage where they don't have to platoon guys, based on down and distance. I think they might have as close as they have in a very long time with the Oklahoma State transfer, Kendall Daniels. Really good freshman year, highly touted out of high school. Had some weird things happen last year in Stillwater, but there was a lot going on with that program. But I cannot wait to see what he might or might not do out there at Cheetah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, if you didn't mention him, that's who I was going to say. I think Kendall Daniels is what they wanted Deshaun McCullough to be.
Right.
And because I think he's a little, McCullough was kind of stiff. He was your size and stiffness of a prototypical edge rusher.
Right.
I think Daniels fits the mold of a cheetah. He can be a linebacker. He can be a safety. He can come up and play rush. And if he can stay healthy, that may be the difference in this defense being the best defense in the Big 12, in the SEC, or third or fourth defense in the SEC.
Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of Texas fans in here be remiss if I didn't bring up the big matchup: the Texas Longhorns at the defending national champs, Ohio State Buckeyes. This one is intriguing. I'm not going to parrot what a lot of Oklahoma fans say that we hear, and Arch is overrated. And if he was Arch Johnson instead of Manning, he'd be a 3-star. But look, I think the kid's talented. I watched, the games he did play last year. I think he's really good. I think Texas has a really, really good team around him. Ohio State lost their quarterback. I'm not sure how much that's going to hurt them. I think the team is what was the best aspect of that last year. But that game, that's got my attention. I kind of like Texas to go in there and pull that win off, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite. And the only reason I'm going the opposite, even though I know he started a game last year and everything, it's kind of the same. One of the same reasons I favor Oklahoma a little easier over Michigan. First road start in a very hostile environment, defending national champion. That's going to be tough for Arch to go in there. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he comes out because you're getting the first start in Columbus at the Horseshoe. Game day is going to be there. That atmosphere is going to be electric.
Yeah, screw Ohio State.
And I think
Ask Baker Mayfield.
I think it might be ugly. Yeah, okay. And if Arch was a second-year guy, started an entire season, I'd be fully in agreement.
How much experience does Ohio State's quarterback have?
But he's at home. Give me a young quarterback at home over a young quarterback on the road.
I'm not sold on that atmosphere in the Horseshoe. I've always heard it's overblown. I'm just not sold. We'll see.
It's the most electric. Let's be real. Oklahoma and Texas, neither one of those are the most electric atmospheres.
Oh.
I mean, that's one thing I think both schools need to catch up in the SEC to be that electric, And that's what I'm saying. It's like, but still, that's 100,000 fans. It's going to be loud as hell, and that's going to be interesting to see right there.
Yeah, Richard McCleary. No, you don't have to worry about, questions. If you got one about the OU secondary, fire away. Randy, look at Sark's game prep for huge out-of-conference games. Well, I'll go to the CFPs. They hadn't been very good.
Well, yeah. Well, and also you can say that, but Ryan Day's been really good out of conference, at Ohio State. And that's where I'm like, my edge is just the fact, if this game was in Austin,
sure,
I'm the other way. I think Texas, for the same reason, I'm not sure, how their young quarterback at Ohio State would adjust to playing on the road. We're not talking game 2 and game 3 where you really get to get your feet wet and settle down and get comfortable in the season. I mean, it's jumping right into the Lions game. Here you go. We're not going to start up against Southeast Louisiana. And that's why I'm like, all right, here you go. Let's have fun.
Richard reminding me that Texas has 2 wins in the CFP, Oklahoma none. Yeah, man. I mean, look,
if Oklahoma went to the CFP when it's an expanded format, that's great.
OU Texas, let's go. Let's get this thing going. Oh, speaking of Randy, very cool interview today, man. And Texas fans on here will like this. The PA announcer that does OU Texas at the Cotton Bowl, Jim Jennings, the guy that's like first down for the Longhorns. Talked to him for 15 minutes today, got the entire backstory, how he got into doing stuff. Asked him his thoughts about that game ever moving anywhere else. And he said, quote, I would probably hang it up if it did, Dave. That game never needs to move anywhere else besides the Cotton Bowl.
I'm so sorry. I won't have to hear Jim Jennings anymore. Let's move that sucker.
Randy's got to be the only guy on both states that wants that move to Jerry's world.
I'm just not for playing a game in a freaking dump.
It is, yes, beer before Red River, Josh. You got
junkyard right next to my house. We'll put some stands up and we'll play it there. It's all the same.
I'll give the Cotton Bowl credit. They had done some improvements on the restrooms and stuff last year. Yeah, it looked a little bit better.
Can I say what I always say about it? It's like a lot of people say this. You can polish a turd, but at the end, it's still a turd.
Lipstick on a pig. I love the Cotton Bowl. Look, it's not. Yeah, the Cotton Bowl might be dilapidated is a good word for it, but there's something magical about that game inside the State Fair of Texas that just you can't explain it unless you've been. I don't care what anybody else says. It's the best rivalry in college football. And we got some more comments coming in. We beat the Natty Champs last year, and we'll beat the Natty Champs this year. Also, no voice here, but OU had the same chance to get to the same playoffs last year. Only Texas beat the ACC and Big 12 champs. Yeah, Oklahoma last year sucked. So they weren't, going to be anywhere.
I don't think we were arguing that. We were just saying the years Oklahoma went to the playoffs. They'd have a couple of wins if they got to play those games early.
Yeah. OU was, that's another thing I keep seeing people say, welcome to the SEC, OU. Last year was not the SEC. That was an Oklahoma problem. They would have sucked in the Mountain West. They were that bad. It had,
they would have sucked in the Big 12. I mean, they'd have been better than Oklahoma State, but that might have been it.
Right. It didn't matter where they were playing. So, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on, to kind of round out the Oklahoma defense. This guy, to me, is a very big key to the entire season. Both sides of the football, win-loss total, all of it. Gentry Williams at cornerback, Randy. We talked a lot about guys that look like day one guys. He is if he plays, but that's the problem. Can he play more than one snap without taking himself out and you never see him again? That's not a knock. It's what happens when you get hurt, and it sucks, and your team is cost for it. But can he stay healthy this year and give them a lockdown corner one side, Eli Bowen more than likely on the other? That is a very good defensive backfield if he can.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And to be honest with you, I would love to know really the story behind his injury, and none of us will ever truly know.
Same.
I think in a way what they did last year, even though it probably cost him a game or two late in the year, if he could have came back, was the right move. Hey, they tried to bring him back. He kept getting hurt. Set him down. Go, hey, here's 12 months. You're going to be a key piece for us next year. Just get healthy, And now if he goes out and gets hurt early on, yeah, he's glass. But now what you're hoping is maybe just that time off, getting away, not being in everyday contact, because he is. I think he's a shutdown type corner. I think he's a next level type corner, just like Eli Bowen can be. But he's got the experience a little more. And so I would love to see him play because I'm with you. I think he could take this defense to another level if you got Gentry Williams in there.
Yeah, I do too. He's got the experience over Eli, and he's got something God-given. That's height. I love Eli Bowen, but he's only 5'9". Usually that doesn't end well against wide receivers in the SEC, but he showed last year, point of attack, playing the ball in the air, his toughness. I mean, he threw a blanket on Ryan Williams from Alabama, who I thought was one of the best wide receivers. Well, he is one of the best wide receivers in college football. So he's a proven commodity. Gentry Williams proven if those guys can play, that's going to give Brent Venables and those guys so much leeway on what they can and can't do with their blitz packages. Guys off the edge, Marvin Jones Jr., a 5-star from Florida State, is a guy we haven't talked about, to go with R. Mason Thomas. I mean, they've got some dudes on that line, but the back end to me is just as important.
I fully agree. And I think the one thing we got to look at this roster and realize, did you see Pro Football Focus this week, the tweet from college? Pro Football Focus College. Amount of players, and I think it's the top 50 PFF. You want to guess what school has the most?
No, was it Oklahoma?
Oklahoma.
No shit.
Alabama, number 2. I tweeted it the other day. I didn't go look at the list to see who the 8 players were, but I was like, that. It kind of goes back to, I think, what you and I have talked about. the overall unit hasn't been put together, but we've looked at guys and gone, that guy's a next level guy. That
Right.
guy's a next level guy. You know, it's like we've seen it, but they haven't been able to put it all together. Just like Kobe McKenzie, he's a next level guy. I think the entire linebacking crew, I'm not going to sit there and go, they're all going to be first rounders. They're not. But are they all next level guys that are going to start this year? I think so.
Got it too.
You know, and so that's kind of where you look at this and you see how they've done what, and I know Sark said it, he's not going to spend a ton in the, NIL world, overall. As far as in the freshman game, it's more about retaining and getting portal guys.
Sure.
I think that shows what Oklahoma did in the portal this offseason because some of those guys have to be Jaden Knott that's in the eight and that John Mateer that's in that eight players. You know, I mean, they went and spent some teams overall. And real fast, McCleary wants to know PFF for defense overall. It wasn't defense overall. It was the amount of players ranked in like their top 50 just for college out, players coming in this year. And so it was eight. Oklahoma had the most, and Alabama had the second most, I believe it was.
And that you talked about the guy that went on the SEC podcast and picked Oklahoma to win the SEC. When you break down the Oklahoma defense, Randy, they could have as many as five-star players on the field at the same time out of 11 on defense. That is, just going by the metrics, a stout defense based on what we saw, what's coming back, returning production. R. Mason Thomas, second in the SEC in sacks a year ago. Grayson Halton, that's my dude. I love that guy on the interior as a pass rusher. Jaden Jackson was phenomenal. Dominique Williams, great run stuffer. And on the edges, man, I mean, they just improved all the way across the board. So, Texas fans, I hate to tell you, Arch Manning will be getting some pressure in the Cotton Bowl. Can Oklahoma's offense do anything to score the football? That will be the question in that game. But
Well,
open up.
I'll go one step further with Oklahoma and the offense. To me, it's not so much can they score. Yes, you got to score, but can they at least ball control some, where your defense is not out there for 45 minutes of the 60 minutes, or if you get a big turnover, you don't turn it over right away. I mean, because we can go back the Missouri game, Oklahoma wins without turnovers. I don't know if maybe the Ole Miss game they might win that game.
Tennessee.
And Tennessee. And I'll say this, South Carolina, I don't think they win it. But at the same time, we don't know anything about that game because they'd given 4 straight turnovers over in the first quarter and got down 28-0 before, heck, most people even got to their seats. So that's kind of the thing also, And we got more questions on the side. Richard's peppering us, and I love it, Richard. Keep
Richard, he's all about it tonight. Do you guys have an opinion on recruiting and developing versus acquiring from the portal after players have already been developed elsewhere? I do, Richard. I don't like where.
Then I'll give you mine.
Yeah, I don't like where that's gone as far as college football. I never wanted it to get here. That being said, if you're a coach, if you're a GM, why take a flyer on a top 250 national recruit that's a 4-star freshman out of high school when you can give the same amount of money to a guy that is, at Indiana or Iowa, a proven commodity in D1 football to come and play for your team? I get it, Randy. If you want to put your NIL towards guys you've seen actually, play at a high level, I understand that, and not going the high school route. That being said, you have to have a base of high school recruits that you do develop. It's an intriguing dance. That's where it's at.
Hey, I'll say this. I'm one, and I think we've seen Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. They've won games, don't get me wrong. I don't think you can go full-fledged into the portal and dive in and go, this is how you're building your roster. I think kind of what Texas has done, what Oklahoma has done, is kind of the right path. And even Ohio State and Alabama, all the schools that have had success, they're doing it this way. You go out and you spend money some, or find a way to get some of those top kids from the high school ranks to come in, and you develop them. And then over the next 2 years, you find where you missed, and then you go in the portal and find those guys. Like Oklahoma did this year. They needed a quarterback. They struck out with Arnold. They go get the number 1 kid in the portal. Mateer comes to town. They felt like they needed help at running back just for extra depth. They go get the number 1 running back in the portal. Defensive end, so on and so forth. It's not building the roster around the portal. I am still about developing first.
Sure.
But find the right guys in the portal. I just don't think you're ever going to see a team, or it's going to be hard to, where you see them go, hey, we're going to go sign 40 guys in the portal this offseason, even if they're the most talented team in the world, I don't think they're going to compete for that national title. I just don't think that gels together.
Would I rather see a team right now take all high school recruits and build their team that way? Absolutely. Do I think that is what still should be happening? Absolutely. Do I blame anybody that doesn't and they take maybe, I don't know, 2/3 high school and a third portal of proven guys and plug gaps, as Richard just said, of where it needs to be? I can't blame them, Randy. That's where we're at. It's pretty much open market free agency with players. And if I've got a choice between a proven commodity and a freshman that's never played college football, I'm going to go with the proven commodity. But you've got to have that backbone still of your high school recruits. That's kind of the lifeblood. I want to say aura of your program. That's not the right word. Culture.
Especially until contracts are like at least 2 or 3 year contracts.
Yeah.
You need those guys that buy into the system, buy into the program, because it's still college athletics and it's not pro. So if you don't have that core group that comes in and goes, I'm playing, whether it's for Sark or Venables or whatever, or Oklahoma or Texas, that's who I'm playing for. If they're just hired hitmen year to year, you're never going to have success. So that's why you're going to have, to your point, like 2/3 of your roster have to be that culture, and the other third needs to be, hey, you know what? We didn't get this. Well, like for Oklahoma, if they were able to get a big time tight end, before the season started, we didn't get our tight end we wanted in recruiting. We didn't get this position. Let's go find that. Let's get that in here. That's what we're going to spend our NIL dollars on. So I think that's kind of the way it is. And Josh, he's right. Big 12 and ACC are basically feeder programs for the Big 10 and SEC. And it's unfortunately, I feel bad for them. That's the way college athletics is going. But that's true.
Don't tell Big Ten coaches that. Boy, did they get on a stupid roll this week with their comments about the SEC. I like them fighting back, but at least choose something that's not completely baseless and asininely stupid. I mean, to say that the SEC hasn't been deep because they've only had 6 teams win the national championship, going back so many years. Randy, 6 teams out of one league, that's an ass load of programs to win a national championship. 2 more if you count OU and Texas to make 8.
Yeah, exactly. That shows you the depth. That's the crazy thing. I mean, it's like the depth in this conference. If you can look and go 8 title teams, how many title teams does the Big Ten have? Can we count them?
Ohio State, Michigan.
2, right? I mean, I'm trying to think. No one else.
Penn State.
If you want to throw in USC, just like we did Oklahoma and Texas, that's
okay.
3.
Okay.
But but it's like, I mean, nobody else in the Big Ten. And yeah, Indiana made it last year. Fine, they made it in the playoffs, and that's an accomplishment. But that's it.
Yeah, Josh Manning just coming to the Super League. The Big 12 teams are spending a bunch to make sure they have a stake at the table. Oregon. Did they win the national championship?
Win.
Yeah, they lost to Auburn, right?
Yeah, I mean, because they didn't win, right? Because I'm trying to think.
Yeah, no, they didn't win it. USC did with the Matt Leinart teams back then.
I mean,
USC is ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and broach this topic. Lincoln Riley, to me, speaking of coaches that have an assload of pressure on them, when does it get cranked up for Lincoln, man? How long is enough out there in Los Angeles?
Well, I noticed when you look at the list, like the top 10 coaches, Venables either at the top 2, 3, and then Riley's usually at 4. He's in that same area. It's a huge offseason for pretty much everyone, that took a job in the last 3 years. If they haven't had major success, this is the time. They better start winning some games because, it's not good right now for Lincoln Riley, and I think he's in trouble. Even though I do think they've made some improvements this year. That's what's going to be interesting to see.
Well, he got rid of his strength and conditioning coach that liked to yoga, so that can't hurt anything. Yeah, a lot of people thought we were talking about contenders. No, we were bringing up Indiana's remarks that the SEC's only had 8 teams win the national championship since like 1948. And we were going over the Big Ten teams that have USC, Ohio State, Michigan. That's it, really. So, I mean, he kind of disproves his own point. Lincoln can suck this year because they spent all his buyout money on recruits. Yeah, that's going to be something to watch, Randy.
Those are different purse strings, though. Those are that's the thing. That's what
That's true.
I have to remind people. NIL money, that's a different donor faction, and so they want to spend that money again next year, they'll be doing a buyout. I'll be honest with you, the same reason Brent would be out. If they only won 7 games this year, I think he's out
So do I.
because, well, they spent a lot of money in the portal. And guess what? You want to be able to spend that money in the portal next year. If you have him coming back, they're not going to spend that money because the donors aren't going to give it for NIL.
No. No, why would a donor look at what Brent's not done, especially if he's can this year, and say, if he's back, I'm out. And I'm with you. I've been asked 1,000 times the win total. You can't do it that way. It's all gonna depend on feel at the end. He can win 8 and be gone. He can win 8 and come back. It's just going to be, does it feel like it's trending the right direction? Does it look like it to football people? So, that's a fascinating aspect of this Oklahoma football season. Can't wait. We got to touch on media days because we haven't yet. Storylines going in. I was curious to see how John Mateer, who came from Wazoo, not really used to all this SEC stuff, would handle himself. Randy, wow, damn good would be my answer. I can kind of see what all the fuss is about with this guy as far as being a leader in the locker room. I thought he was poised. He was confident. He handled every question thrown his way extremely well. I was impressed, man. And I call it like it is. Jackson Arnold was a deer in a headlight last year, but totally opposite this year.
Yeah, no, I thought really, as far as just those two alone, were exceptional. Jackson Arnold, I thought was exceptional.
He was good.
I thought Mateer was, that's kind of what, it's like no one comparing to anyone else. Please don't be those people. But if you want a maturity factor and see what a quarterback can be, like at least how he handles himself off the field, you look at it and go, that's the reason Oklahoma can have optimism about where this offense is going and where they can go this year. With that maturity level he's out there with right now in front of the media, facing all the questions, it was exceptional, I thought.
Yeah, I did too. Robert Spears Jennings and R. Mason Thomas rounded things out. The only other thing I thought was interesting that OU fans had to love to hear, they asked R. Mason Thomas, kind of like, you're second in the SEC in sacks. You're a big name. Basically, why are you here? Why did you come back? And he gets it, Randy. He's undersized. He's an edge rusher known for that aspect of his game. He wants to be an all-around defensive end. So I came back to get better against the run, improve my technique. I loved hearing that. He wants to be an every down defensive end, not only in this league, but on the next level. So I was all for that, came back for the right reasons, and all three guys handled themselves extremely well.
Yeah, no, and I think they represented well. And again, I go back to me, you don't learn a lot about SEC media days, but to your point, like with Jackson Arnold last year, where he looked like a deer in headlights, you saw a maturity factor from all three of those guys. And all three of those guys are going to be key leaders, whether it's on the offense for Mateer or Spears Jennings and, R. Mason on the defensive side, and so those are the little things you look at and go, there's reason to have optimism about what this team can do this year because no one seems to be backing down. They're taking all the questions head on and they know what they're up against. I mean, they know it's their coach's job on the line, but they know what they represent for him. And so I kind of like it. And that's why I feel like they're going out there to play a chip on their shoulder.
Well, you damn sure hope so. After coming off a losing season, embarrassing for Oklahoma, those guys want to get out there and right the ship quickly. We'll take one last question as the light is waning on Mr. Heights over here. Thoughts on Aggie? They didn't even bring their quarterback. By the way, OU is more of a mutual rival. Aggie is more of a hated rival. Yeah, same with OSU and Oklahoma. Everybody hates Oklahoma State. Somewhat, way down in the recesses, they respect Texas, whether they admit it or not. So, yeah, I hear you on that. A&M, they're what they are, Randy. I expect 8, maybe 9 wins.
So I don't know if they get that many. I'll be honest. I think they're going to be good, but I kind of think they overachieved a little last year. And I do think Elko's a heck of a coach.
Oh,
I just kind of wonder if this is going to be year one. They maybe overachieved in his first year, if you will. And does this year kind of be that year you see it a lot of times, with guys in a new job, and then that second year they're ready to capitalize on this high, and you got the Aggie factor on top of that. And then it's like they slide back a little. And then I kind of think next year might be the year you see them kind of go, all right, this is what Elko's product's going to really be.
Yeah, I could see that. Defense with Elko, you always know will be there. I'm just kind of concerned about that offense. We'll see. 7, 8, maybe 9 wins. But guys, want to thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Sorry for the late start time. Is what it is. Richard, Josh, Randy, USC is like 300 million in the red. I don't think they can't afford Lincoln's
But I
buyout.
think it will be interesting because we know how Oklahoma is. The school can be in the red, but the athletics is a totally different animal.
Yeah, they probably got the dough. We'll see. We're gonna find out, y'all, as college football season is rapid.
They'll call Will Ferrell.
Randy, it's going to be the busy time for you and I coming up. I've kind of enjoyed the last few weeks of just kind of taking a breath, but it's coming up quick.
It's here, man. Camp starts next week. It's crazy to think.
Rock and roll. Well, all right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. We will see you next week at 7 o'clock, same night, right here, same channel. For Andy Heights, I'm Dave Myrick. This has been Red River North. See you guys next week.